So this is what I looked like at 4 in the morning after having only slept 4 hours, being fully dressed and ready to catch a flight. Now, where did I fly to? Well, that's a story in and of itself, so let's get into it. Hello, you sassy salamanders. It's Brandon Camilo bringing you another story peppered in with beautiful artwork that I'm working on. Well, beautiful to me at least. It doesn't need to be beautiful to you. That's okay if you don't like it. Regardless, I'm here to tell you about how I got to spend 24 hours in a different city. That city of all places being Houston, Texas. You see, a few months ago, silly old me was feeling stir crazy while drawing on my computer, and I got to searching for concert appearances from indie music bands that I like. Lately, I had been on a serious Goth Babe kick. If you haven't heard of Goth Babe, he's this dude who lives in a tiny house with his pup and makes some sweet music. I linked his Spotify in the description. Anywho, I had seen that Homeboy was going to be performing in Houston, and I was like, I bet. Now let me go check on some flights. And this is where trusty, dusty Spirit Airlines comes into play. Spirit Airlines, the butt of everyone's airline jokes, but yo, you can't beat those prices. And much to my surprise, Spirit Airlines had a $30 direct flight to Houston from Florida, landing at 8 a.m. the morning of the concert. Now, here's the kicker. The cheapest returning flight was not until 6 a.m. the following day. And thus, on a whim, I signed myself up for 24 hours in a new city with only a concert performance being the only thing I planned. So keep in mind, a few months had passed from me booking the flight to the actual date of my trip, and as the day approached, I found my urge to cancel the plans for fear of going alone, and actually convinced my brother to take me to the airport way early in the morning. And so I was on my way. The flight was straightforward, and I arrived at 8 a.m. local time as expected. I couldn't get much good footage of anything on my drive from the airport to downtown Houston, but regardless, that wasn't the priority. My first objective was to get some breakfast, and more importantly, some coffee. I decided to go to this coffee shop called Day 6 Coffee Company, which was situated in the heart of downtown, and offered amazing espresso and bomb-ass brekkie sandwiches. But the part that interested me the most is that the coffee shop is a collaborative space for creatives with some amazing artwork on display. Check this out. So after finishing my coffee and shamelessly brushing my teeth in their bathroom, I figured I was ready to set out and explore. And without much of a plan, I kind of just chose a direction and began walking. Good morning in the morning, everybody. I just got to Houston. Actually just left the coffee shop, and the people out here are super duper friendly. Have a lavalier microphone on me and a weird ass book bag because of a concert I'm going to later. But it's been pretty chillin' so far. So since I only have 24 hours here, I actually don't know whether or not public transit or just walking around the downtown area is my best bet. I am a stern procrastinator, so research I did zero. So being at the coffee shop, I just kind of got the idea to go ahead and like rent a bike, and do that. So a few blocks away, I found a bike station, and after downloading the app, I realized that there are a ton of stations around the Houston area, and that really got me excited because my plan was going to work. So I chose my first location to be the art store because I wanted to buy a new sketchbook for this adventure. The art store was only a few miles away, so I set off on my first leg of exploring Houston.
Few moments later.
That right there was a freaking disaster. I don't know if you guys can see the silhouette over there. I'm a few miles away from downtown Houston, where I got the bike. I'm drenched in sweat, mostly because of the heat. It's a hot day. I'm wearing overalls for the pockets, not really so much for the temperature of them. But the barista at the coffee shop told me, she's like, Houston isn't the most pedestrian-friendly city. And, you know, I was just like, I'll give it a go, man. You guys have a bunch of bike rental spots. No, not worth it. Not worth it at all. I was literally like look at this asphalt that's here. I don't know if you guys can see it. Hold on. Where are you supposed to ride? I mean, sure, on the road, but there's no sharrow markings. And everyone's like super duper on my butt. That's nice though, but still, just it's not worth it. I assume that this is a Uber everywhere sort of city. And yeah, that's what I'm probably gonna do. Although I'm walking to the art supply store to get me a sketchbook, but we'll figure everything else out from there. The extents and limits that I will go to for a new sketchbook. Sorry, there was a car passing. Jerry's Artorama by the interstate. I literally left downtown to come to like an interstate just because I want to sketch properly. Let's go. So I found my sketchbook. Scratched that off the list of accomplishments for the trip. However, after leaving the art store, I realized I was in a shopping plaza much like any you can find in Florida, carrying a bunch of equipment and drenched in sweat. I decided to sit down inside of a Target for a few minutes to let myself cool off, and I began to feel a little discouraged about my trip just because mobility became such a hassle. But alas, I decided to pick myself up from my bootstraps and call an Uber. So I just finished getting off an Uber that just dropped me off somewhere in the park. Oh, look at that.
What is that? What is that? What is...
I think those are locusts. That's weird. Anyways, I don't think I've ever seen one of those in person. Anyways, I just got off the Uber that dropped me off back at this park that I've been wanting to visit. I cooled off at the Target, but I didn't take any footage of that because, like, it's Target. What's the point? Everyone knows what Target looks like. And I'm going over this pretty decent pedestrian bridge. At least they have this decent facility. And there's downtown Houston over there. So I'm a little bummed that the idea that I had to ride bikes didn't actually work out. But at least it's still a beautiful day, and I'm not gonna let that deter me or anything. But I am actually a little tired, so I might find a nice tree and take a nap on me for like an hour or so before I like find another place to stay at. Exploring the park was a bunch of fun. It made me remember that as much as I like pedestrian-friendly urban areas, there's something that can't be taken away from walking around nature. Well, at least partial nature in this sense, since it is a city park. Nonetheless, it's always refreshing to see some good old foliage on a walk. Plus, I wasn't getting as sweaty, so that's a bonus as well. So for this clip right here, I managed to find a way to hang my camera off of some branches to get a shot of myself, but laying down on the grass was a complete failure. I hadn't realized that the grass that I was stepping on was mad dewy, and when I sat on it, I immediately felt my butt get wet, so there was no way I was gonna make the rest of my outfit feel like a wet sock. So far, Houston 2, Brandon 0. Anyways, I kept venturing forward in the park, and a little while later I was lucky enough to find a shady spot near a memorial where I could actually rest my head and show you guys the outfit I chose for the trip, I guess. As I rested, I couldn't really rest. I mean, it's kind of hard to fall asleep in the middle of a sunny day, at least for me that is. You see, I have an outrageous fear of falling asleep in public places with my arms over my head and being awoken by a stranger tickling me. I know it's ridiculous, but I've had this fear since I was a child, and I guess in my mid-20s, I'm still not taking any chances. Regardless, my mind was racing at a mile a minute, as it usually does, but I was mostly thinking about the nuances of what I was doing. Spending 24 hours in a city with no plans for accommodations can actually take its toll on the body. Something that's obvious for many people, I suppose, but there's a certain sense of comfort, or should I say enjoyment, in doing things that makes me uncomfortable. Of course, I'm talking about tame things like this. I'm not gonna go skydiving off a plane with no parachute anytime soon. But nonetheless, as I attempted to nap, I thought about how lucky I am to be able to be doing something like this, to just have the freedom to up and go to any city in my country. I guess you can say I kind of meditated on gratitude, in the sense of the little things in life. No, literally, like the fact that I had clean drinking water available to me at the park, and the beautiful weather we were having in Houston on that day. When you stop to take a look at the little things, it makes the grandiosity of what I was doing so much more worth it. Eventually, I felt like I had cooled off yet again, and as I just stated, I wasn't going to fall asleep anytime soon, so I decided to just keep going.
So I don't know if Drawing Brandon has mentioned, but I have a concert that I'm going to today. And yeah, that's gonna be pretty cool too. That's part of the reason why I'm coming to Houston. The round trip flight was super cheap, but the concert gave me something to look forward to, at least to do. But that's not till 8 p.m. And right now it's still early in the afternoon, and this park walk is starting to get a little long, only because I'm carrying stuff and I'm very exhausted, but man, I really like it. I don't think I'm dressed for going to the artsy sides of Houston. Like I said, it's an Uber yourself around city, and being here by myself, I can Uber myself around, but the Uber prices will just add up. You know, this is definitely feeling like the type of place where you can come with a group of friends and rent a car and drive around, but then by that point, you might as well just drive around to different cities in Texas or just explore different areas as well, right? Because like you're with friends, you're renting a car. I personally would like to go see like what kind of nature Houston has around it. Although, man, I love a good skyline, and this skyline is beautiful.
So as I continued my walk along the park, I took footage of a bunch of things I found interesting. I began to fill up with a sense of joy and exploration for the features the area had to offer. And I know that this is just one park in Houston, and my hometown has a lot of features just like it, but the thought that this may be the one and only time that I may see this very park is interesting enough for me to see it in a new lens.
Yo, check out this cool feature.
After exploring the park and having walked probably a few miles, my belly was screaming for some food, so I decided to head back to the downtown area and explore some restaurant options. There, I decided on this cool underground location conveniently called the Underground Hall, which is just a conglomerate of different trendy eateries in one convenient location. We have many of these in Florida too, but what we don't have in Florida is an underground in general. You see, the geological makeup of Florida is basically limestone, so any sort of tunnel would be like digging a hole through Swiss cheese that will inevitably fill up with water. So as a Floridian, I always find it interesting to be underground when I get the chance. I settled on getting some fire birria tacos because I assumed that due to Houston's proximity to the border with Mexico, some of the legit taco flavors would come through. And boy, I was not mistaken. These tacos were amazing and hit the spot. After eating like a Viking in the underground hall with all my awkward equipment on me, I still had a ton of time before the concert, so I decided to continue exploring.
So I just finished destroying some tacos. I didn't get to draw, but I still have a lot of time before I actually have to be at this concert. So I'm gonna go visit Midtown. I'm actually gonna go use the Metro Rail system that Houston has to offer to make my way like way down there. And I'm just missing the train. Perfect timing.
Hopping on the train was definitely a neat experience. I got to see more of the city than I would if I had continued footing it. Well, of course. I decided to visit one more spot before the concert. It was a combination of a bar and coffee shop where my intention was to draw in my new sketchbook before the concert started. Since I needed to essentially stay up until my return flight at 6 a.m. the following day, I seriously needed to caffeinate. And as I was drawing, by the time I asked for my third cup of coffee, the barista gave me a concerned look and asked, "Do you even plan on sleeping tonight?" To which I then explained the predicament that I was in and that I indeed did not plan on sleeping. She laughed at my hard-headed plans for 24 hours in Houston and commended my efforts. A little after that, I noticed the sky turning a beautiful golden color and realized that there was no way I was going to stay inside while the day turned to night in this new location.
So I just left the coffee shop, finished my drawing, and I was planning on staying there until like my show at 8 p.m. But I saw the beautiful like sunset that's about to happen, and so I kind of wanted to like go somewhere outside to go catch that. Now that I'm waiting here in the metro line, I'm kind of bummed about it, dude. Like I could have been like using the metro like a lot sooner, you know. But regardless, I don't regret walking. I think walking helped me clear my head a lot. I have a lot going on in my head, so you know, it's just like easier to sometimes just walk things off. I mean, the walk in the park was beautiful. However, it's important to take advantage of those metro systems, man.
The sunset was beautiful. I didn't get any clips of it because I actually just wanted to sit and take it all in for what it is. That, and I spent the sunset hour on the phone catching up with friends while I waited for the gates of the concert to open. And thus, before I knew it, it was finally time to see Goth Babe.
So I just got out of the concert venue, and Goth Babe canceled.
Yep, you heard Travel Brandon right. Goth Babe had canceled on his Houston show, and that really bummed me out. I hadn't checked the venue lineup for any changes before the concert because I didn't expect a cancellation. Regardless, Goth Babe was the opener to another band that was performing in Houston, but I didn't stick around for the main show because I actually, coincidentally, had old friends from Miami fly in on the same day I flew into Houston. Yes, indeed, I got to catch up with some old friends. That was the true highlight of my adventure. Sometimes when life hands you situations you don't expect, it doesn't necessarily have to mean that it's bad for the sake of being bad. This adventure in Houston kind of proved to me that the universe has a way of balancing things out for an individual. I can gladly say I had a ton of fun when I was out there, and before I knew it, it was time for me to head back to the airport. And a few short hours after that, I was laying face down on my bed, getting some much needed rest. That pretty much wrapped up my 24 hours in Houston. Oh, and here's the art I finished for you guys. As always, peep the Instagram for full pieces, and as you guys know by now, my name is Brandon Camilo. I love you. Bye.